Hello, my name is Elijah Williams. I don't know why I said that like that, but this is my final presentation for MEA 425, and I decided to do my presentation on performance rights organizations. So I chose this topic just because I kind of liked, um, or rather just found it interesting when we did the worksheet on it and the presentation for it from Dr. Linden. So I just decided I wanted to kind of like go back over the research that we learned and then add more to it that I found online. So I'll first just briefly go back over the history. So a lot of this information is from the presentation and the worksheet that we had. So just a brief kind of refresher of what an actual PRO is. It's basically just like a collective society or agency that collects the royalties for their artists. They do a bit more things, but that's primarily what their task is. So the three major U.S. pros are that we already learned about was the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. That was in 1914 established, and the next one is Broadcast Music Incorporated, or BMI, 1939. The Society of European Stage Authors and Composers, that was in 1931. And then in some research, I found two more that I will be talking about a little bit later, which was the Global Music Rights, or GMR, which is fairly new. It's a 2013 organization. And then the Society of Composers, Authors, and Music Publishers of Canada, and that was in 1997. Also called SOCAN, if I'm not mistaken. So as for just a breakdown of each one individually, so ASCAP, the first one we talked about, membership is about 800,000 members, about 11.5 million songs in their database. Membership fee is $50, and publisher fee is $50 as well. For BMI, membership is about 1.1 million songs, and their database is about 17 million. Membership fee is free, and then publisher fee is about $150 for an individual or $250 for a corporation. CSAC membership is about 30,000, about 1 million songs in their database. Membership is invite only, and publisher fee is free. For GMR, or the newer one that we talked about from 2013, membership is only about 109, and I'm pretty sure it's accurate. It might be a little bit off, but from their website I collected it was 109. Their songs in their database is about 46,000. Membership fee is invite only as well, and then publisher fee varies, and the website kind of talked about that it's based on like different factors just in general, so they didn't have like just a flat rate. It depends on like who their artists are and how many artists and everything like that. For SOCAN, like I said, this was a Canadian pro with membership of about 160,000. 67 million songs in their database. Membership fee is free, and then publisher fee is $50. So something that I found kind of interesting that I wanted to touch bases on before I kind of move on was just noticing how the publisher fee versus membership fee was different. And I think that kind of something just I collected from the research that I did was, I guess, publishers kind of take care of a little bit more, like kind of act as like the manager of the royalties versus just member. I'm not sure, like just to use an example of like, I guess like Shakira or something. She's a part of one of these organizations versus a publisher. She's a part of a publishing company. So I just kind of noticed that publishing fees were usually a lot higher versus membership fees because I think they handle more of the work. But that's just something I found interesting. I'm not sure if that's just like fact-based, but that's just something I noticed, that most of the publishing fees or publisher fees were a lot higher than membership fees. So now just to go on to a few more interesting facts that I found, which they're not necessarily interesting facts, but just kind of like a need to know type of thing. And just understand that obviously if all of these PROs were the same, then we would only really have one, and there would be a monopoly in the industry. But all of these, each organization does something a little bit different than the other. A lot of times pros, for their artists, they fight for, you know, like higher rates, better rating and prices for their artists. Of course, they want the largest profit for themselves as well, but they do fight for their artists that are a part of their organization. Like I said, they all have like exclusive rights and exclusive kind of lost my unique and exclusive rights as far as individual members and artists, and they all pride themselves on it. So I think it just kind of focuses back on like why there are different ones in the industry like this, and that you're able to actually research more than one or two. And something that I found about SOCAN was that it is the largest rights management organization, and the website I believe said like in the world, but I know for sure in Canada. I know for sure in Canada, it's the largest management company there. So I thought that was just something interesting to kind of know. So kind of to touch back on the monopoly and just monopolization that I was talking about in like previous slides and everything, I really wanted to, just based on like the nature of this course, find a little case study to try to just give a little bit more in-depth knowledge about PROs and just how it's handled, because everything is not just like peaches and cream. Like it's not always just oh, we fight for our artists and that's the end of the story. But this doesn't necessarily have to do with an artist per se, but I thought it was a really interesting case. I don't want to get my facts incorrect. It was a very long case study, but this is what I collected from it. So there was a case of Affiliated Music Enterprises Incorporated, which was not discussed, but AME versus CSAC. This was a 1959 case, I believe in the U.S. I'm pretty sure it was in the U.S. just because of the nature of the case. And this was a case of basically like unfair competition, monopoly. So, just to sum it up, like I said, the case study is listed in my sources, but from what I conducted from it, there was a man named Kurt Jadison. So he worked with CSAC. He worked within the company, and he initiated a deal to secure like the performance rights over the gospel music industry. It was starting to kind of like boom, so they wanted to like capitalize on it before anyone else did. So in the process of doing that, he initiated all of these deals, and it was starting to, like gain momentum. So he ended up leaving the company, and he went to AME. So when he got there, he was able to kind of basically like, he was making deal with other companies as well, from my understanding. And of course, he's like, oh, I can guarantee you, the best deals are at CSAC, or I can guarantee you this rate for CSAC. And of course, he made the deals while he was with the company, so he was able to make those promises and guarantee it. But when he came back to CSAC, they were kind of like, no, we're not interested in that. So it became like a really big issue. He kind of, I'm not going to say just him alone, but CSAC was kind of just like okay with forming the monopoly on it. And that just goes to show like how serious this is within the industry, that you cannot do that. Or rather, yeah, you can't do it because, people will sue you, per se. So I thought that was interesting to see. So as that continued, AME sued and felt like CSAC was trying to create a monopoly and intentionally like push them out of the gospel music industry, and they wanted it just for themselves. So they went to court for it. A lot of other factors played into the role, but the judge ended up dismissing both claims. But again, I thought this was just an interesting case to add to the research, just to show like pros do more than just fight for their artists. They fight for their rights as companies, as organizations. But I thought it was really interesting to see. I wanted to add it to this presentation. And that's just all that I gathered from this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something a little bit newer. And thanks for the course.